So our last important point when talking about navigation is to talk about how your players will move from level 1 to level 2 and from level 2 to level 3. You'll remember we mentioned that the levels will always be played in order and you can't go backwards in levels, whereas with the scenes, as we've seen, you can move from scene 1 to scene 3, back to scene 2, depending on how you have built the navigation and where your change scene blocks are placed and where they're pointing. So in this video, we're going to look at how you move on to the next level. So basically, there's a control that decides when the level is finished. When we're finished one level and ready to move to the next, okay? This is controlled by marking some of the building blocks in your flows as obligatory in order to finish the level. If I preview this level right now, you're going to see that level 2, because in level 2 right now there are no blocks that are marked as obligatory in order to finish this level, then right away you're going to see this aviso and you're going to see the next level button here pulsing in the corner. Note that if it's the last level, you're going to see end game written here in the corner, and that's how we move on to level 3. So how do we set up level 2 to have some obligatory pieces? Very simply, every single one of the building blocks has the same checkbox at the bottom of its settings. Building block required to finish the level. Okay, so it's just a case of deciding what pieces and more importantly what flows are necessary, should not be skipped, need to be seen before the player can move on to the next level. So logically we would like to put the obligatory pieces on the lessons, but remember that a flow will be experienced in its entirety in order. So really it makes most sense to put your obligatory marker towards the end of your flow. Okay, you don't want the change scene button appearing in between the dialogue and the text lesson. This text lesson, as you can see, doesn't take up the whole screen. So you will be able to see the button for the next level in the corner. As you can see right there. So really our obligatory pieces, we're marking the flow as obligatory, okay? So I'm going to put it on, this is an invisible piece, so I can put it on the last visible piece here. The change scene doesn't appear, it's just a functional piece. So I'm going to put it on this last piece right here. I'm going to call it obligatory. I'll save that. Now let's go and preview our level again. Once that has saved, and you'll see that now my next level button is not going to appear straight away because now there's an obligatory piece that I have not yet reached. Okay, so we're going to click here and we're going to go through the flow. We have our conversation. We see our lesson. We do our quick quiz, get our feedback. Then we do our quick test with the mini game. Oops. Correct answer. Get my points for the mini game. And I move to the next scene. But as you can see, scene 2 does not have an obligatory piece in it yet. So right away, I've reached all the obligatory pieces at this point in the level. So my change level button is going to be available. If this will load, there we go. So scene 2 also needs an obligatory piece for us to decide when we want this next level button, exactly when we want this next level button to appear. So let's go to scene number 2, and in this scene we've got 2 flows. We've got Emily in the dialogue and a lesson, and we've got a self-assessment test with Fred. So really I want both of these flows to be seen before I can allow the player to move on. So I'm going to mark the last block in this flow, obligatory, and I'm going to let that save, and I mark the last block in this obligatory as well. And now if we preview the kitchen scene, you'll see that my end level scene is not going to appear ahead of time. So as you can see, you have to think quite carefully about how and when your player is going to be done with a level. This is very important to make sure that any skippable flows don't contain an obligatory piece, because if the player can skip that flow and not get back to it, then the next level button is never going to appear because they'll never have reached that obligatory piece. So make sure that all obligatory pieces are accessible and that the player will definitely have seen all of the flows that you want them to see before they're allowed to move on to the next level.